This podcast finds the third week of Advent that celebrates joy over the idea that Christ is about to come into the world. And also in this podcast, there's an excerpt from my book, The Very Fine Light. Nico Steves here. I'm hearing from some readers that they plan to give gift copies of The Very Fine Light as Christmas presents this year. Just so you know, there is a quick and easy way for doing this on my book's Amazon.com page for ease when sending the book as a present. Plus, it will get to them very quickly. The time period in my book, The Very Fine Light, begins before Thanksgiving through Christmas time. It's a timely gift for the friend looking for some Christmas spirit. For those of you who haven't heard about it before, the book is about Randy Sparks, a fun-loving village employee who is always in trouble for telling it like it is, and the pushback he faces from the mayor, who is hiding a secret. And when combined with the village's pending bankruptcy, well, it creates a volatile chemistry that will make sparks fly. No pun intended, Randy. As always, if you go to my website, sign up on the mailing list for my upcoming newsletters. This podcast finds the third week of Advent that celebrates joy over the idea that Christ is about to come into the world, which couples nicely with those who are keeping the Nativity Fast, where we can see light ahead, His light coming closer. And now comes the quickening pace of the season, creating a mixture of emotions that we can easily experience as we become part of the harried in-town traffic. For every one person totally focused on shopping for gifts, there is another who is having to purchase an unexpected appliance. So what do we get in the surrounding media broadcasts and social outlets? There is a strange mix of Christmas classic songs, and those classics these days are part of a very short list of the so-called best of best. To me, it's strange to hear a 1940s era standard classic played with greater and greater frequency these days, and they are now mixed in with classics from the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1990s. Coupled with those since the turn of this recent century, the most popular new ones from the 2020s. Fortunately, the third Advent candle is now lit and recognized to be the time for renewing our joy, and how necessary this is. It's a confirmation for where we are in the time leading up to the Nativity of Christmas. Yes, the big day is worthy of us taking a break from all the tension that inevitably comes up at this time of year. And hopefully in the Nativity Fast, there's a meditative contemplation of what is the meaning for Jesus Christ caring so much for us that He willingly came into the world. The end of the fast is not only nearer, but it is going to burst forth with a wonderful moment when Christ arrives. And now, segments from the audiobook version of The Very Fine Light. Chapter 30. Buell spotted the Christmas tree on the corner glowing brightly, and the colorful lighting reflected off the darkened warehouse. "Look, Buell, I had them put up this display with that spare tree," Julie said with a childlike excitement in her voice. As they turned the corner, he saw Randy and Mikey at the old warehouse. He quickly pulled over to the curb just past the bucket truck in order to see if the warehouse door was open. Mikey again looked at his watch, then pleaded, "Randy, we can't be late for the dress rehearsal, and we still got to change into our clothes for it." Randy looked at Mikey, then said, "All right, we're done. I'll come back tomorrow morning first thing and secure the connection." Buell got out of the SUV and strained to look at what Randy and Mikey were doing. Initially, from this vantage point, it looked like Randy was huddling near the side door. Looking intently towards the doorway, Buell could now see that the wooden 2x4 plank he had placed was still there. He determined they had not entered the building. Julie looked at Buell. Maybe he could skip dress rehearsal? Her request momentarily distracted Buell's worry over the close call. He looked over to Julie and shook his head, then shouted back to Mikey, "Yes, well, His community service has him duty-bound to act as Santa Claus and hand out gifts at the VFW, too. Sure. I know it's part of this raw deal, Randy shouted back. Julie, I've told you he's nothing but trouble, Buell said as he got into the SUV and slammed his door shut. Buell's foot punched down hard on the gas pedal of the all-wheel drive SUV. It responded with the tires squealing and beginning to smoke as rubber from all four wheels met the road. This distracted Randy. He looked to see Buell's fist and middle finger thrust above the SUV's roof as intense amounts of smoke began rising from the burning rubber made as the powerful SUV peeled out. Really, Buell, Julie said tersely. Really, Julie, you're not being a good manager if you start going soft. Julie turned her head away from Buell as a scowl overtook her facial expression. Distracted at seeing Buell's actions, Randy stopped from heading back to the electrical connection. He and Mikey looked towards Buell's car and saw Julie's hard look in their direction. Mikey remarked, Boy, they're happy one minute and mad the next. Randy also mistook her frown as a look of anger towards him. And now, on to part 2 of this podcast. Plan to take just 5 minutes this day to sit down. Call it a sort of coffee break. No more, no less time is required, and answer this simple question. Who celebrates the arrival of a baby in the weeks before the child is born? Apparently advertisers do, and they are everywhere in your day. Why, it's you, not baby Jesus, not the famous, nor the latest celebrity who's really the center of attention at this time of year. It's you. And unfortunately, like the proverbial frog in the frying pan who's about to get scalded with the gradual rise of temperature as the pan heats up, these advertising ticklers gradually become intense pressures for you to deliver gifts that please. So if you can pause for a moment, consider ways to relieve this pressure. Don't dwell on the things in your Christmas season you do not have. Take a moment and look at the things you and yours do have. And be thankful to God for these gifts. Take a moment to consider if spiritual preparations for acknowledging the birth of Jesus can offset this constant drumbeat. Could you take time in each day before Christmas for a 2-paragraph daily Advent prayer? Could your next meal be without something you enjoy during a Nativity Fast? Can these small offerings offset the mental strain of being in the spotlight? These Christian practices in modern society can help slow down this manic pace. And before Christmas is intended as a time to rejoice in the fact that God's coming into the world and it will be filled with joy and happiness. This action come Christmas Day on the part of our loving God is about to take place, and it's just the beginning of our cause to celebrate. The 12 days of Christmas are just around the bend. And it's during those festive times after the Christmas birth when celebrating the 12 days ends on January 6th. During those weeks, not before December 25th. Who celebrates the birth of a baby before the baby is born? The times of celebrating is after the child comes into the world. And it's those times when even the coldest hearts start to thaw at the sight of a newborn baby in a mother's arms. During your 5 minutes of reflection, endeavor not to dwell on things you don't have, didn't do, or didn't accomplish. Look at the things you and yours do have and be thankful to God for them. And those nativity scenes we find everywhere can remind us of what real gift giving is all about when we consider the great gift of giving that the Virgin Mary selflessly gave when she accepted the responsibility of birthing Jesus Christ into the world. This is Nico Steves. I hope you enjoyed this installment. My book, The Very Fine Light, can be found using the title The Very Fine Light on Amazon.com. Please feel free to contact me at NikoSteves.com. That's Nikos Steves, Steves.com. If you like this episode, and for more, share them with friends. This is Nico Steves. Thank you. See you next time.